You want to talk faded? PRS now has a color called faded blue jean. What they basically just want to call it is what was once whale blue, or any type of, I think this might have been royal blue, which is, to give you a perspective, this is very close to royal blue. This is what gets people all up in arms, and I don't know if they've ever really admitted to what it is. There's clearly some kind of chemical thing where some of their finishes didn't stick as well. Who would have thought? Now, personally, I call these reverse bursts because it's almost like it's, you know, you got the beautiful natural wood color and then there's a little bit of the blue dye. I love how it looks, and this thing's got like all kinds of wild, trippy lines. Even though it's not a 10 top, it's just beautiful. This is a 1986. This is what most blue 86 PRSs from that time look like. I almost never see a PRS from this time period that was blue or black that doesn't look kind of like this. And this is another perfect example of a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful early Paul Reed Smith. T&B pickups, it has the sweet switch, and it's crazy too because the serial number's in the 1900s, and if you go and look on Paul Reed Smith's site, I think it's the 1700s, it says it starts 87. But this is clearly an 86. I've called Paul Reed Smith and they told me that this is an 86, so it's an 86. Just the very end of 86. So the other 86 is at the beginning of 86, almost an 85, and I wish it was, because it would have made it worth like at least, you know, 2 months' salary. Not for me. I mean, I work at McDonald's, so like maybe 8 months' salary difference just because it's an 85 versus an 86. But this is a beautiful 86, and I like too that there's a sign of life. It's not beat up, but it's like some dude wore a belt for 20 years and played this out in public because you know, the sun got to it. But reverse burst, 86. This is the second PRS I ever bought. It's a 1998, and as you can see, this is from a time where I actually used to customize guitars. It's a custom 22, but it has the McCarty style three-way because I personally don't like turning the knob. But when I actually used to play out, like, I don't even leave this room, dude. Like, I don't even go out in public. I don't talk to anybody. I mean, like, isolating for COVID. Like, I've been doing that since 1999. But in 98, when I was playing out, I used to like to go, and I'd roll the volume too, because this is another volume. I said the tone. I actually had someone make this another volume, and it push-pulls. And these are AGI lace sensor pickups that sound unbelievable. I believe this had Dragon pickups in it, and it's weird because all these people say to me, I always see on the forum, Dragon pickups are so fucking awesome, and they sell for like $500-600 a set. And I remember at the time having this and having another custom 22 with the HFS vintage bass and thinking the Dragon pickup sounded like shit. I don't know if it was the guitar or whatever, but when I put these things in, it made me happy when I was playing live all the time. So when I was more fastidious and actually like trying to get a certain tone, I had to change out these pickups. But I have the Dragon pickups in a case somewhere. No, I won't sell them to you because I still would rather them sit in a case, know that they're in the case, never touch them, than know that they're not there for if I ever want to change this back to how it was in 1998. It also has the wide thin neck, which is just the shreddiest. My first custom 22, the one I slept with, it got taken by it got taken from me. I don't even want to get into it because it's like one of those memories you push down, you know? Like when that babysitter came over that time when you were like 7 and they were really weird. One of my friends called me and goes, didn't you used to have a PRS? Like, it's actually the keyboard player in my old band. He goes, didn't you used to have almost this exact PRS? Now the one I had was a custom 22. This is a McCarty. It's a 2006 McCarty 10 top, but it looked exactly like this. It had the natural binding and all that. So like this is filling the void of the guitar I told you about that introduced me to PRS. And it sounds great. It's really cool. It's a McCarty, so it's kind of like the same setup as I had for my custom 22, but like came standard. So you could tap the pickups and you have a three-way. And this is supposed to be a tone, but again, because I used to play out with this thing, I made it a volume because I don't care about tones. You bored yet? This is a really cool guitar. This is an 88 custom 24. And I thought maybe it was a standard 24, but as you can see, it has maple on the top. So this is a solid color black custom 24. And I have said this over and over and over, but I will continue to say this. The solid color custom 24s, especially from this time period, seem to me to be a whole lot rarer than all the crazy colors. So I love this. I mean, I don't own an all black PRS. In fact, I don't think I've even seen that many all black PRSs. I'm sure they're out there, but like, this thing's cool. And it's got the T&B pickups in it. It's got Brazilian rosewood fretboard, sweet switch, and this guitar just fucking rocks. I mean, when you put this on, this is like a Black Beauty Paul Reed Smith, and it's an 88. So I had a bunch of 88s, and I'm pretty sure it's just because, you know, that's how fast it takes the DeLorean to go back to 1955. So 88 miles an hour. This is the second thing I ever bought on Reverb, and it's the 513, which they've stopped making because basically Paul Reed Smith loves to come up with these concepts of like, let's make as many tonal options as possible. So you have like thin, like thick, super thick, and then like 5 different tonal combinations. They now have made it the 509 because they're like, instead of having 13 changes, why don't we just call it, well, why don't we only make their 9 options? But for a few years, they made the 513, and this is a really cool one because first off, Seafoam. And I found that they only made a very small amount of the Seafoam, and it's swamp ash. Swamp ash. I have swamp ash from walking 35 miles. Nice and light with a maple neck, but it's a cool tonal combination. Swamp ash and a maple neck, and it has the 513 birds. So if you collect PRSs, you know you have to have like one of every type of bird. These are known as the 513 birds. Ironically, on a 513. Maybe I should have done them both at the same time. Maybe I should have. This is my other 513, and I love it because it's called Midori Sour. Look at that color. And when I bought this, it was the cheapest 513 out of, I want to say, 30 on Reverb. And because it's a solid color. And what I found out is that most of the 513s are 10 tops, and a lot of them have Brazilian rosewood necks, because the first year they came out with Brazilian rosewood necks. So to find one that doesn't have a 10 top, that's a solid color, but still with the birds, seems a lot rarer to me. And this is a one of one color. I know that I think I've seen a Santana in Midori Sour. So my guess is that one day they got really high at PRS and looked, dude, we're gonna make a new color. Call it, what's the girliest drink you can think of? Midori Sour. And then they made a color out of it. It's fucking cool. But this is mahogany versus swamp ash. And it's got the 513 birds. And I love that it's literally the color all the way around. And this truss rod cover even was green, but I put it in the case because if you didn't notice, I like to put flair on my truss rod covers. If you like PRS, you've watched this channel, you've probably seen these two guitars. These are my 1988 Studios specials because they came both with the wide thin neck, the birds, and the tone, which ironically was a higher end feature than the Sweet Switch. This one is bone stock. This one has Joe Satriani pickups, the DiMarzio, whatever, the split thingy in hot rails, and then the J-Mo, whatever the hell it is, in here. And then this is a beautiful Lindy Fralin single coil that just sounds chimey and beautiful. But it's kind of cool because this is my favorite sounding Paul Reed Smith with the wide thin neck. And to have an iteration of it, nevertheless, I think that they made like 40 or 50 of these each in these colors. So to find a set of 88s is pretty awesome. And going back to, it's hard to find solid colored PRSs. Here you are, here's two of them. The Great White Buffalo and the Great Red Buffalo. My favorite thing about this Paul Reed Smith is the fact that it's just so freaking light. This is a hollow body one, but it doesn't have the piezo pickup or any of the extra stuff. And it's gotta be like barely 5 pounds. So if you got back problems, this is the one. And the top, 10 top all day. But look at the bum on this thing. This is definitely nicer than a lot of the 10 tops I've seen, but the bum, it's a really nice sounding guitar. Again, my experience is a lot of these guitars, this has the outlined bird, so it's got like almost like this bone with abalone in the middle. It's beautiful. It has the 5815 low turn pickups. So those are supposed to be, like PAFs, but like instead of having double whites that are supposed to be hotter, these are the lower. So like if you know anything about PAF humbuckers, there's a wild difference in how loud the output is. They go from like mid 7s to like all the way up to 10 or 11. So if you have like a hot wound PAF, it's probably got like a 10 output, a 9.5 output, versus the low wound could be low 7s, mid 7s. So I'm not as much of a fan of the low output pickups, but this guitar sounds righteous, and all you do is just turn up the gain a little bit and it'll sound great. Remember we were talking about fading? Look at this thing. This is my favorite reverse burst that I've ever seen. This was originally, again, remember how I get all the red guitars? This was this color. Are you serious? But I call it the Captain because I know for a fact that this belonged to a sea captain. And actually on the case, it has like all of the weight and stuff that you could tell it was like on a ship. And I'm guessing he kept it like right in the captain's log. And he just, all the light sucked out all of the color. And the interesting part is when I got this, because it's a signature. So the PRS signature, they made 1,000 of them from I thought it was originally, they started in 88, but I was told from somebody else from the PRS factory, I think they started them in 86. And the idea was, it was the first limited edition from Paul Reed Smith, where they had above 10 tops. That was the idea, is that they were the nicest tops. And Paul Reed Smith personally signed the headstock, and this is number 961, because it's a 91. And another interesting thing about this is that it has covered pickups, which you'll never see custom 24s with covered pickups. And it was really weird, so I had to take them out. And first off, there's the HFS and vintage bass in the case. So those are what came in this. But these are PRS number 9s. And in talking to Paul Reed Smith, he, I think it was up through like 13 or something like that. They did different iterations of pickups. So this is the number 9s, which never came standard in any model. So these are super, 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 super rare pickups. I actually haven't seen them anywhere else. And I'm sure they were ordered for this Captain dude from PRS, because there'd be no other way to get it. So kind of cool. I'm actually psyched to have a custom 24 with number 9s, because everything else I have is different. So variety is the spice of life. The Captain! I got some more PRSs in the other room, but it seems really far away. So we're going to end with this guy. This is the first thing I ever bought on Reverb, and it was because it was $1,100, and it didn't come with a hard shell case. And I remember thinking to myself, $1,100 for a white DGT without a hard shell case? And this is back when like you could actually go on Reverb. They didn't charge tax, they didn't charge the sellers anything, and they were just trying to get you. I can't even believe I got this for like $11.50 shipped. I want to say it was like $50 shipping. This is the PRS, and when people walk downstairs to my studio, they just go, what's the white one? And it's kind of like the Black Beauty I have back there, because you realize when you see this guitar that you don't see a lot of solid colored PRSs. And there's something really nice about this white. Dave Navarro had a white PRS. This is kind of like a flat white to it. And there's something about the actual plain maple finishing, natural maple finishing, that's just beautiful. And it's got the white kind of bone looking outlines around the abalone that matches the white, and the white headstock, and the kind of like bone looking tuners with the open back with the multi-tone here. You got brass, but then you got chrome, and then you got bone. And one thing I really love about the DGT is that it has 2 volumes for each pickup. So that was the really cool thing about the DGT model, was if you're like me and you like to roll down the volume when you play, you now have 2 volumes for each pickup. So if I want to play like Kill Die mode in lead, and then go to the rhythm pickup and be like all Zakk Wylde playing Mom, I'm Coming Home, I can do that just by dialing it in here. And what a great guitar. But I hope you've enjoyed my show of hubris my peacocking of PRS, my mother lode of cores. The truth is, man, is that I'm obsessed with this stuff, and I love PRS guitars. And even though I'm sure that Paul Reed Smith doesn't like me very much, I still love you, Paul. I do.
Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?